It seems these days there are a lot of okay games, slightly above average and functional titles. They always offer something, sometimes slightly unique, sometimes not. They usually execute these features quite well, have a serviceable to slightly enjoyable story, and that's about it. I'm sure you know many pretty okay and decently substantial games. In fact, you're probably thinking of several right now. But there's nothing wrong with these games, of course, and which games fits this description is entirely subjective in many ways. But then there are games that do, well, a lot more. Games that do not compromise on their crazy, weird, or downright batshit features, be it the concept, gameplay style, aesthetic, or just a fucking memorable story. And then there are games that break the mold even further by combining all their amazingly well-crafted features. Then there's Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 seems like it came out of nowhere. Of course, it didn't, as while not many noticed it much before its release, the devs at Sandfall Interactive and their publisher did a decent job promoting the title, steadily garnering attention with its bizarre and incredibly vague narrative description, its unique blend of turn-based and real-time combat, its weird but alluring aesthetic, and man, so much more. But now the game is known by millions across the internet, praising many of the exact same things I just mentioned. But honestly, none of that really matters. I mean, yeah, sure, the gameplay is incredible, addictive, and fluid, the characters are awesome and memorable, the art and direction and soundtrack are freaking godly, yada yada yada. You probably heard all that before. What makes Clair Obscur by far one of the best games, at least of the decade, is its incredible narrative. From the opening alone, the game has players on the edge of their seat by masterfully introducing an interesting concept in a strange and mysterious world. While many adapt this format to great success, none does it as immaculately. Players start off in a warped version of Paris called Lumiere, whose population is rapidly approaching extinction thanks to the all-powerful, ever-foreboding, brutal presence of the paintress, who watches from afar next to her monolith, only ever moving each year to paint a number that reduces the population even further. The old people were killed off a long time ago, and some would say that's a good thing, but it's now up to the young, who are desperately trying to end this extinction event known as the Grammage. The expeditioners head out into the unknown toward the paintress to stop her once and for all. Countless failed attempts, hundreds dead, tens of expeditions cut short. But these soldiers venture forth regardless, filled with hope for a better future. When we're put into the shoes of Expedition 33, we see how strangely beautiful this world is and how amazing this game can truly be, especially its narrative. As players progress, more and more crumbs are littered and dropped, painting a picture of what's really happening here until the big final reveal in Act 3. Clair Obscur's story has always been about one central theme right from the beginning: grief, something every human in this world has either gone through or will go through in some shape or form, and Clair Obscur portrays this feeling all too well, from the Grammages and Gustave's shocking death to the final reveal that the central grieving does not come from Lumiere or from Expedition 33, but from the Desandre family. This family is at the forefront of everything in this world, including the crumbs I mentioned earlier, because, well, they created it. And after the death of one of their own, the ramifications of their grief are also felt throughout this world. Everything stems from this grief and explains Verso's sudden presence along with his abilities and knowledge, and why Maelle, this cheeky teenager, is so strong, why the Grammages happen, and even the origin of the paintress herself. Every member of the Desandre family represents a form of grief in some shape or form. Alain, denial; Claire, unadulterated anger; Maelle, bargaining; Verso, sadness; and Renoir, acceptance. Everything clicks, everything makes sense, and no loose ends. And that is one of the many reasons why the game deserves the Game of the Year, and why its story is one of the best ever written for a video game, at least that I've seen, and I've seen a lot. Well, that is what I would say if it wasn't for that goddamn ending. You see, Clair Obscur actually has two very important, very different endings. Unlike many other games that offer multiple endings, they aren't based on your actions throughout the game, but actually your philosophy. what you value, what you consider real, and your principles. At the start of the game, you're given two choices: destroy the painting and end the cycle of grief, or allow Maelle to stay there with her friends, returning everyone who's gone. Now you'd think this is a no-brainer, but it really isn't. It's actually one of the hardest choices I've seen in gaming, considering everything the player goes through, so much so that I kept flip-flopping between what I believed was the better conclusion after choosing both, just to see what happens. And after mulling it over for several months, I concluded that they both actually kinda suck if you think about it. Don't get me wrong, Clair Obscur's narrative and its ending are near perfect. There are no true villains and no right choice between the two. The two endings put you in a situation where neither of them feels truly right, as there are very harsh compromises in both. This results in this weird, melancholic feeling you may have felt at the start of the game. If you choose to let Maelle stay in the painting with everyone, the whole group, even the deceased, get to live their full lives happily together. Well, almost all, because Verso gets stuck in a nightmarish world in which he very clearly wants out of. And like her mother, Maelle will start to degrade both mentally and physically the longer she stays in the painting. So it's not exactly the sunshine and rainbows that it seems. Then we have the second choice, which is both better and worse. Maelle leaves the painting and gets to grieve with her family in the real world, ending the cycle of their grief as they can finally begin to heal with each other in their own ways. But this means the painting will surely be destroyed, and everyone and everything you've come to know and love over all the hours and hours you've spent enjoying the game is wiped away in the blink of an eye, and the characters you've come to love cease to exist. But this feels awful because it is. So what's the right answer? Well, again, that depends on what your beliefs and opinions are about the game's world, characters, and narrative. But the simple answer is that there is no answer, which sucks. Emotionally speaking, of course. Now, if it were up to me, I'd have loved a third ending. One where Maelle is pushed out of the canvas and is prevented from living in an intoxicating delusion. This would mean she'd leave her friends in the painting behind, but she'll get to grieve healthily with her family who need her. But also, the painting would remain. It won't be shackled by the toils of the Desandre family, and everyone and everything you've come to love finally gets to exist and live their lives in the pursuit of peace. But unfortunately, it isn't up to me, and while this ending would be great, we don't always get the best endings we want. Do we? Don't get me wrong, I actually think Clair Obscur's ending is phenomenal because the two sides show every part of the painting, but I still fucking hate it.